I
Joyce,
was
well,
getting nervous.
Mary Joyce, welcome back to the Edge.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's just like having an old friend on the program. You always bring us interesting information, and I just love having you on the show.
There were a few years that I lived out in Texas, and every guy was wearing a cowboy hat. And when I came back to the east part of the country, it was like the men were nude. It just didn't seem right without the hat.
No, it doesn't seem like I saw something come through a feed, some news feed. It says that liberal women can't find any masculine men, and well, yeah, you can't. They're all down at Target, man. So I don't know what to drink at Bud Light. So it's going to be a miserable life for a whole lot of women making that lifestyle choice. Well, speaking of freak shows, Mary, we got a celestial freak show going up in space, and there's all kinds of things coming out. Man, it's like the floodgates of UFO information has been released, but it's coming out as if it's just like it's going to be 80 degrees today. We got aliens dropping over here. We got a tsunami over there. They're working on a law in Congress. We got alien abduction. A lady got alien abducted. I mean, it's just like it's in the newsfeed like that. It isn't like, do you realize what we're saying? What is coming out here?
Yeah, at least they're getting out there on the mainstream media, which has taken a long time to get there.
Well,
Now
you.
they're still holding back so much. I mean, I've
Mhm,
done that website that I have, skyshipsovercashers.com.
mhm.
I've been doing that since 2008, and I've discovered so many things. I mean, we already have Americans on Mars, and they talk like that's somewhere out in the future. And so, even though they're releasing a lot of stuff now, just remember they only release what they feel like they really, really have to. They always have more than what they're letting us know.
Mhm. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's the question. How do we know what information that is out there that we're missing? How do we ever know that?
Well, I actually started snooping around with Google Earth, and I want to encourage everybody who follows your show uh, to start using Google Earth. There's an icon at the top of the site, and it looks like Saturn. And you press on that, and you can find Mars, and you can skim around on Mars just like you can skim around the moon and around Earth. And I found incredible things. One of them, I don't know where to start with. I've seen. Let's say UFOs. I found two crash sites with UFOs and one where it looks like it's simply parked on the surface of the planet. And it's huge. The Google Earth tool lets you measure things. It's at least 3.5 miles across. And you can see the shadow beneath it. You can see the raised center in the middle of the craft. And there it is, just sitting on Mars. And
Just sitting on Mars.
just sitting on Mars.
Well, what
And
else
so
would we be doing? So yeah, man. It seems like uh, it would be of more importance this information here. So if we civilians get to see this, how much stuff the government have?
a ton of it, a ton of it. Like I said, snooping around with Google Earth has been amazing. I have found two what I call habitats. One back, I found, I think it was back in 2011, it's a long time ago. And it was about 700 feet in length. And it looks like some of the sketches that artists use when they talk about designing things for the future in space.
Hmm.
And then I think it was about 4 years after that, I found another one in the southern hemisphere. And this probably was built later. It's bigger. It's
Hmm.
literally 10 times bigger. It's 7,000 feet in length.
Hmm.
And it truly looks like a habitat. So these are the kind of things um, that they're not talking to the public about, but I've discovered the evidence of it.
How big is the biggest UFO that you've seen or know about?
I don't know if I can answer that. As far as what I've seen, I've only seen small ones. So
No, or that you found out about. I mean, isn't there planet? I mean, extremely huge UFOs been seen out there.
yes, there have. And like the one that's parked on Mars, 3.5 miles across is
That's
pretty
what.
darn big.
Yeah, 3.5 miles.
That,
Would you say that at 3.5 miles there's a city like of inhabitants there, or are they giants?
Well, I do. I don't normally do any reading when I'm on a show with somebody like you,
Hmm.
but I want to share just a tiny bit here. The man who was in charge of Israeli space security for nearly 30 years,
Hmm.
he decided he would go public, has wonderful credentials, and he went public in the Jerusalem Post, which is a well-established newspaper that's got a lot of credibility to it. And in my book, which is Spy in the Sky, I have his whole statement, but I just want to read you a tiny bit of it. Um, let's see here. We have been waiting for let's see here. There's an agreement between the US government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. They too are researching and trying to understand the whole fabric of the universe, and they want us as helpers. And one final sentence. There's an underground base deep in the depths of Mars, where their representatives, the aliens, are, and also our American astronauts. And I have that in the book, Spy in the Sky. And on the very next page, I start showing some of the entrances that I have found into the planet. I would never have discovered these under normal circumstances because normally when I scan the moon or the earth or Mars, I go from right to left or left to right. I decided one day to tip it and start going from the pole to pole.
Hmm.
That's when I discovered 27 square cut entrances into Mars. And they look like warehouse entrances.
Wow.
And 27 in a line over 16 miles is pretty incredible. And we're not talking something ancient. These look like things that would be used now.
Hmm.
And they're pretty good size. In round figures, they go from 400 feet across to 1,000 feet across.
Hmm. It's been said that the Hollywood elites, including people like uh, Zuckerberg from Fake Book, are building their own underground bunkers to withstand apocalyptic events. Do you think that they may be aware of an impending invasion from space as part of that preparedness?
I don't know, but a bunch of years ago, there was a big fad all over the country of people building underground bunkers. So this has happened before.
Hmm.
Uh, the way the fires have been going this past week or more, and you see New York looking totally orange and almost totally obliterated, you begin to think, well, gee, this kind of does look apocalyptic.
Hmm. And let me just make a mention here for people watching the show. I didn't get the video. Is one thing I forgot to do. Maybe I'll do it next week if people are still interested. But somebody was scanning the planet for weather anomalies and came across Quebec. And Quebec, there were no clouds on Quebec, and all of a sudden you can see fire plumes all at the same time start rising up from the forest there. And
Hmm.
there is a testimony of people that live up there said they heard big booms in the forest, and all of a sudden there's a plume of fire smoke billowing. And then normally when a fire is started, say from a human source, a match, and then the match it grows, and then a little fire grows. It takes time. It doesn't instantly cover the state of New York like they have. So it appears that these spontaneous fires were calibrated and coordinated, and some people speculate that there's weapons from space that hit them at the same time. And of course, the goal there is to create climate frenzy, is what it is. But it also could be from further up in space coming down on this planet.
It could be that. It could be aspects within our own human culture. I mean, we have quite a diverse range of people and incredible
Hmm.
motivations from one extreme to the other.
Well, and to further on that point, there have been excuses that what is not man-made is lightning strikes. Well, lightning strike doesn't. I've never seen lightning strike on a clear day. But then all of a sudden they come out with a scientific explanation saying, "Well, yeah, there is something called uh, spike from the blue. That's where you can have a perfectly blue sky and a lightning bolt come down." Now,
Wow.
I don't know how long you've been alive, but I've been about the way today's my birthday. But
Happy
so I've been
birthday.
alive at least 29 years, going on 30. But I have never seen lightning come out of a clear blue sky. Have you?
Yeah, yes, I have, but it's
Oh,
when there's a storm off not too far away.
right. Well, there's a storm off.
Right,
Yeah, it could be on the tail
right,
end of a storm,
right.
but it's connected to a storm.
Correct.
But if you have a whole territory,
That's
tens of
clear
thousands
sky. No, that's
with
not
blue
going to
skies.
happen.
Okay, okay. So we agree on that point. By the way, let me greet Peter from Australia, Tony in Louisiana, Antivirus, and Q Maga on the program. If you have a question for tonight's guest, just put it in the live chat. Jade, the moderator, is looking, and Mary Joyce, we have this question from Put Yahweh First: is do we get to Mars by DARPA Project Pegasus?
I do not know, but I do know that they have ways of getting there that are not dependent upon putting people in rockets and blasting them in that direction. That is not the way they're getting there. I cannot tell you in any confirmed way how they're doing it, but it's not that way.
Mm.
And this kind of technology's been around for a long time. I've gotten information from people who were involved with, I think it was the Department of the Navy, where they
Mm-hmm.
had private access stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and there were trips to the moon long before we ever knew there were
Mm-hmm.
that were, and driven by mankind.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Hey, I'll
But
tell you.
I don't know. As far as DARPA goes, I don't know.
Okay. But I can say it seems that lightning strikes odd places, say like the White House, the Vatican. I mean, it seems to be coordinated to strike kind of like centers of demonic activity. But I mentioned giant beings in the possibility of that spaceship that you described. Recently just came out in the news out in Arizona, I believe in Arizona, Las Vegas, so it'd be Nevada. And I'm going to roll the clip here. I don't know if you've seen this, but this just happened recently where a streak from the sky crash landed. It was actually a UFO of some sort landed in these people's backyard, and they saw creatures. And this thing has gone viral. So let me roll the tape and get your take on it. So here, I'm going to jump out and I'm going to pull you out of the picture too as well and get ready to roll the video.
Okay.
Just before midnight on April 30th, skywatchers across several western states saw a bright fireball streak through the heavens. A police officer working in the Northwest Valley caught a glimpse of the colorful object on his body cam. At nearly the same time, a Ring camera in the area recorded a strange noise and what sounds like a crash. One family living in a ranch-style home had a much closer view of the object. Two brothers and their father were working on a vehicle in their yard when they caught a glimpse of a sparkly object as it came crashing down, then were hit by what they describe as a shock wave. One of the witnesses, a young man named Angel, has stated when the brothers looked into the yard where the object landed, that spot was obscured and blurry, as if by unknown form of camouflage. What they saw next prompted a frantic call to 911.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Angel says they heard the patter of multiple feet in the yard. They later heard footsteps on their roof. They saw one of the 8-foot-tall creatures climb behind the controls of a large front loader stored in the yard, as if trying to engage it. He got a good look at one of the creatures, he said, a greenish-grayish being with large eyes and long legs. He says he could hear its deep breaths, and when he locked eyes, he was, in essence, frozen in place, couldn't move. In the middle of the yard, where the object had crashed, then vanished, a circular impression was left in the soil.
Well, there you have it. That was a very, very credible testimony and 911 call, including the police that came to the call, who actually saw the crash too as well. So it seems that they're beginning to appear, not just in the sky, but on the ground.
The fact that 911 people came in there, or the police or whatever, that helps give credibility to any story. Mm-hmm. So that makes everyone have to ponder that with a bit of seriousness.
Yeah, in fact, the body cams caught that. And what's interesting is strange, though, it's almost like the movie Signs with Mel Gibson. Did you ever see that?
Yes, I think ages ago, right?
Yeah, it's
Long,
it-
long,
it's
long time
yeah, it's
ago.
yeah, it's an older movie, but in that movie they're in a farmhouse and these alien creatures jump on the roof just like this guy described here. So they were walking on the roof and doing various things, and they were very large creatures too as well. They just in the movie signs they say it was a very large creature. It was greenish and it was running around on a roof and left a crop circle out in their cornfield. So and in this case here left an impression. Rarely do we have artifacts left over from crashed things, but it just seems that there. And then another testimony, Mary, came out just recently of a military person who said they were in is Afghanistan or Iraq or doing some military operation. They went over a hill and there was this giant craft the size of a football field hovering there with U.S. forces, was loading it with military hardware. It says about 8 feet off the ground. They were loading it off the back of a specialized truck into the thing. And they said that the military guys that were at the scene saw them coming down the hill and went and took their guns, emptied their guns, said, "We should just kill you right now. You better not say anything." So this just now came out, but the guy's a whistleblower. He just gave this testimony to Congress recently because of the UFO whistleblower protection thing, which is now activated, right, saying if you've seen him, because usually they used to be, you couldn't say what you've seen, but now there's a law that protects the whistleblowers in the military to say what they did see. So we've got a lot of activity going on out there.
And it's going to keep coming out now that they're protected because, I know of people who have been whistleblowers before this kind of protection, and they've lost their jobs. They've lost their retirement benefits. They've had a lot of retaliation toward them. So, like I said, if they have protection now, we're going to hear a lot more.
Tell us more about your book, Spy in the Sky.
Spy in the Sky. It is a picture book for adults. Believe it or not, there are photos on every page except for 3. So even people who don't like to read will probably perhaps enjoy reading this one. But it is full of visual satellite imagery that shows things on Mars, on the moon, at the bottom of the ocean, both of them, the Atlantic and the Pacific, Antarctica, and some things that have never been published before. And those are photos of giant UFOs around the sun. The photos are taken by NASA's SOHO satellites that constantly monitor the sun. They take a picture every 12 minutes. And a man who contacted me from the Netherlands, smart guy, and he contacted me back in 2013. He was taking these NASA photos, satellite photos, and he called it dusting and cleaning. He'd get rid of the debris, he would zero in, and the detail of some of these are incredible. All of them are bigger than Jupiter, which is our largest planet. And you can see the structure, and they're not all the same. And they don't look like what we see from Earth. They 2 of them that I have in the book, we call them the flying phoenixes because they have kind of a shape like a flying phoenix. But you can see the structure, and it would be there's one, and you could easily imagine that being like a giant cruise ship going through the universe. It's not difficult to imagine those things once you see those kind of photos.
By the way, we have a poll question related to tonight's topic, and let's go ahead and check the poll question. Mary Joyce, is the alien species most likely to attack Earth? And the choices are the reptilians, the insectoids, Chinatoids, and I believe it has a reference to China there. The Greys, Ralph. I think they're an alien called Ralph back in the 70s, was there not? Or the Democrapians. Right now, it looks like it's the Democrapians that are the most likely to attack. I think they are attacking. But I have a little confusion. Maybe you can help me out here. I always hear about reptilians controlling the Greys. Who's the worst that you've read or know about or studied of the aliens? Is it the insectoids, the reptilians, the Nordics?
Oh, the Nordics are not in that category at all.
Okay.
Not at all. The Nordics and the Pleiadians and the tall whites, they actually look like us, sometimes to the point where they could mix in and blend in with a crowd of people. But I wouldn't want to entertain a reptilian for anything in the world.
Mm. So,
And it's kind of muddy when it comes to grays. Some of
mhm,
the grays are kind of like robotic and being manipulated by
mhm.
other beings. Um, there are some that aren't so bad, but most of them are involved with alien abductions and all the things that scare the pants off of people.
Mm. All right, we have this question here. By the way, welcome, Little Tiger and Mickey V. Jade, moderator of our chat, says, Mary, what's going on in Antarctica?
Hey, I was really, really excited about this. We discovered it in September of 2021. And the ice is melting so fast down there that we're making discoveries. And we found 5 ancient cities coming up out of the ice. And you can see the square wall structure. And you can see how the wall structures are spread out like a city would be spread out, like along a river. Or now you're under the ocean right there
Oh,
behind you. But that's under the ocean.
okay.
Um,
Under the ocean.
so is that. Anything in blue is
We're
under the
trying.
ocean.
We're trying.
Oh, no, no.
Continue on.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's going on back here.
It's not matching what we're talking
Pay
about.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
All right. But this is what I found very, very fascinating about this. Most scientists agree that that continent's been covered in ice for about 34 million years. So if we have ancient cities showing up in the melting ice, they're the oldest cities on the planet.
Mm.
And we just discovered that in 2021.
But
That's pretty recent.
But there's also reports of a lot of elites going down there for some strange reason. What are they looking for? Where are they going?
I can give you a couple answers. One, at one time I lived on Cocoa Beach, and I got to meet people who worked for, at least some people who worked for NASA, including Clark McClellan, who was a trained astronaut, and he worked at Mission Control, so that if something went wrong in space, he could perhaps fix it from Mission Control in Florida. He became very, very good friends with Werner von Braun.
Mm-hmm.
The two had a lot in common, a lot of shared interest. And when they would get together at conferences and things like that, they would go out to the beach or they would go out to the pool and get away from everybody so they could talk. And Werner von Braun talked to Clark about the base that the Nazis have had, in Antarctica. And he confirmed that. He confirmed that that was a reality back in World War II. So that's one thing that's going on there. I've heard some other different kinds of theories. Again, it's really hard for those of us who live here on the rest of the planet to know for sure what's going on down there. Even Admiral Byrd, he had 2 diaries, and one diary was what he called a secret diary. He wasn't sure would ever come out. It was very, very short. I did read it and study it. And he had incredible claims that sound like science fiction. He claims that down in Antarctica, it opened up and he flew into the interior of Antarctica, and that there's a whole civilization living down there.
Wow. I have this question come in from Grumpy Old.
And by the way, the ones living there, they look like us. They don't look like reptilians or, grays or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Army Vet says, Mary, what is the earliest documented occurrence of aliens on Earth that you can confirm?
That I can confirm.
I just reading the question here. Take it as
you will.
I
got the question. Man, that's I don't know the earliest that I can confirm.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. I think let's rephrase.
Wait, let me tell you this.
Okay.
In the book, I have one section where I focus totally on what I discovered at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean along the west coast from Alaska down to Baja. And some of those blue things you were showing in the background are some of those pictures. One of them looks just like an airport that we have today. You can see the runways. And in my book, I have a picture of the Spokane, Washington airport right next to it. So you can see how similar the two look. And that's 89 miles in length, one of the runways. And the longest runway that exists today is just barely over 3 miles. So something very large inhabited what is now the Pacific Ocean, eternities ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the structures are huge. The blue one that you had where you can see pillars, the one you showed just before this one, those pillars are hundreds of feet tall. And that roof is, I think it's like 3.5 miles across from
Wow.
one side to the other. That's huge. So everything I found under the ocean in the Pacific was huge, which means some kind of life form there were in the giant category. And in further research, I found out that on one of the Micronesian islands, they found a skeleton that was about 10 feet tall. So we've had those very well might be giant aliens. It kind of looks that way.
Mm.
That would be the oldest I might be able to guess at.
Okay. And so who do you think built these?
Nobody knows what race this is. They just were doing everything very, very large, but they haven't left a signature card saying we are from here or we are from there, because these are truly ancient.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we're looking out in space, some say that if you have night vision, you can see UFO wars, actually. Have you ever... And there's some people that charge money to take you out west to see those. Have you done that? Do you know, is that real?
Night vision goggles really, really, really work.
Hmm.
And you can see things that the eye cannot see. And it's very common to see UFOs scooting around the sky when you've got the those goggles on. So yes, that's real.
Mm-hmm. And I also noticed that in that clip we played earlier of the people in Las Vegas saying that they were frozen in place. And of course, that is the question people have. If you're looking at an alien, why didn't you whip out your cell phone and take a picture? But it does seem that they have power. They seem to know if you're looking at them. And I think they have the power to hypnotize. And when it comes to alien abduction, people always report that the one person if there's two people in bed, one of them is frozen and the other one is taken. So It seems they have some kind of paralyzing ability. Have you heard that?
Oh, absolutely. That's very, very common. So usually it's done in some mysterious way because you don't see anything. But Charles Hall, who was with the military and was stationed out in the Area 51 area a long time ago, and he interacted with a race of tall whites who were like skinny humans. And they often carried like what I would call like a magic wand. And they used it for their protection. And they could, it would freeze people. I probably could kill them too, but freezing people so they can't move is very commonly reported.
I may have asked you this question before, but if we were to face one here on the ground, should we shoot to kill or should we try to make friends with them?
God, everybody has to depend on their gut feeling. If one shows up that looks like a Pleiadian or a Nordic, I probably would try to keep my wits about me and interact. I will not do anything to interact with the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. Now I know that some guys have facetiously said they wouldn't mind some of them Nordic. That people have made drawings of these Nordic women. They usually are like blonde and voluptuous. Should a male see such a creature try to mate with it?
Well, I'm not going to answer that directly. I'm going to answer it a different way. There's a man, his name was William or Bill Tompkins. He worked for NASA at the highest level. He reported directly to Werner von Braun. And he was an engineer, very brilliant man. And the space program, if you recall, back then developed rather quickly. We started from nothing and we were, going to the moon and flying everywhere in a rather short amount of time. He claimed that there were secretaries that worked there that were beautiful, but they were aliens, and they would give them, the engineers, clues and hints on what to do so that things would develop faster. And he said that's how they looked, that they were beautiful, human-looking women.
But is it one of those things where it has an outside shell, but you rip that shell down and you got a greasy reptilian back in there?
Not in this case, but as I understand it, the reptilians can camouflage themselves.
Is there, has anybody ever said what type of ammo could kill an alien? It seems to me it's like they probably have like a self-healing. You get hit with a bullet, they probably just instantly heal themselves. Is that kind of a thing that there is, or is there an actual? Do we have like a 50 cal? Would that take them out?
I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that very few, I think there was one survivor of the Roswell crash. The rest of them died. So they're not invincible.
Mm-hmm. There's also there's so much information out there. So I will come across a lot of it, and I know you do too. But is there any documentation that they are actually harvesting humans to eat?
Oh. Yeah, I think there are some that do that. And they call the Earth the farm. And I think it's one of the creepiest sides of the UFO phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And people, it's a mistake to try to bunch everything together and think that this is what it all is. It isn't. There's such diversity in the world out there and the ETs out there, even more so than what we have here on Earth. And so we cannot make generalizations that fit them all. Absolutely cannot.
Mm. Kind of remind me, there's I don't know if this is related. We're talking about cannibalism, so to speak, but or bizarre eating habits in general. I think it was in Connecticut that some people set up a webcam. They wanted to see, they had a dead deer in their yard or in their forest, and they wanted to see what come along and eat it. And I don't know if you've seen this video, but I
have not.
Okay, well, the video shows they were expecting, they actually had a couple critters come by. Then all of a sudden they had two naked witches come and start eating that deer raw in their forest. They got it on video. It was like, we're living a really creepy world right now. And so,
okay. Also, at the same time, we are going to have to be on guard, because now it's getting exposed the extent that we have developed artificial everything. And we have always, as long as we've had the computer, had people who've had a joy in creating things that aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
And gotten so sophisticated at it that it's very, very difficult sometimes to sort out what's true and what's not.
Yeah. You're talking about AI, and in fact, that just
yes, and photoshopping the two of them together,
yeah,
right?
And
so it's like we used to be able to trust our ears and trust our eyes. That's not always the case right now.
Yeah.
The story you're telling me about the witches, I would. That's a story I would not readily believe. I would have to really.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, it's out there. If anybody in the live chat.
Oh, but I don't doubt the video's out there.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that at all.
Oh yeah, let me just throw this out here to the people watching the show. Has anybody seen that video, and do you think it's real? Just put that question out. We'll have the audience here sort of look at that. But yeah, really, because even biblically, the Bible says that if it were possible in the end times, the very elect would be deceived, and so this blurring of the line between what is real and what is not real is so much out there. There's pictures now of like Trump kissing Fauci, and DeSantis made one. He made one against Fauci or DeSantis, and DeSantis made one. So they're just making these AI things that look totally real. So people really have to look at that. All right, we got another question come in. It says, why have we never gone back to the moon, Mary?
One of the people that I read about in the book Spy in the Sky worked for NASA. She worked in the photo department, and she was involved with anyhow, she was connected. And she said that they were waved off at that time from going to the moon because there are aliens on the backside of the moon. And I don't doubt that for a minute. When I was using Google Earth to kind of search the moon for myself, I really didn't expect to find anything, for the simple reason that NASA's been covering those photographs and stuff for years. And this woman also said that they've been airbrushing out things on the moon in photos by the thousands. So they were waved off by the ETs. It looks like we're going back there now. So something has changed. I don't know why.
Hmm. Well, I think it's more important that people of like mind, freedom-minded individuals, and people that just simply want the truth to sort of band together and we've got to get away from the secular type of media productions that we're shoved down our throats every day, because the truth is harder and harder to find. If we just talked about what is real and what is not real, but if we can get a lot of people of like mind together, sort of more groups type of thing, then the information can be in there, and then we could just say, okay, here's what's going on, because this group has cooperated it, and all this. Whereas you have the governmental institutions and media, they're over here telling you a whole different story. They're telling you that the sky is green and you're supposed to believe it.
See, here's where we have to be careful again. The people at the level of government that most of us know can't do these kind of things. They can't, manipulate to the extent that we're talking about. There are those at the deepest levels who certainly can do things that aren't correct. But we can't, again, like with the ETs, we cannot lump everything as all the government is suspect. All the government is not suspect. Aspects of the government, people within the government have made it so that these whistleblowers can now come forth and not lose their jobs. Those were governmental people that changed those rules. So let's not blow all the governmental people away, because some of them are really trying to do the right thing.
Well, if you're asking me, I would say not many in that category, but hey, there's millions of them, so there's a possibility more than a couple. But let's go down this.
But you do know about that. You do know about that. That has just happened recently, and somebody has gone to great efforts and to change the thinking so that these whistleblowers can come forward. That is a step forward, and somebody in government did that. So let's not just blow away all government.
Right. And there's also another story of another person who just came out who said that there is an ongoing race to reverse engineer crashed craft and get the technology off of them. And this person who's pretty high up there in the military said that they've had bodies, and I don't know if they're still alive or not, but they said that we've been getting that technology and we've been getting these craft for some time. And he's one of the kind of credible people, and he also is coming under the Whistleblower Act. So there's another one right there. But again, that should be bigger news than what it is. But it's muffled and it's covered under other bizarre stories that keep coming out. Mary, what would it mean if the entire world says, the whole infrastructure of government and media says, okay, they're here? Would that change anybody's life?
Absolutely. Who knows how much it would change? Yes, it would. If they came down here in a way that was undeniable, of course it would change everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm hoping that we've got a lot more reverse engineered craft than our enemies do, and then if we ever get in a war, that we're going to use some of that reversed alien technology.
Well, we've been doing that for decades. We have been reversed. That is nothing new. That's been going on for a long time, and that's why it's getting harder and harder to tell which UFOs are real and which are man-made. I think, for example, the triangular ones, those are. I'd be willing to bet large amounts of money those are all man-made. On the website at one point, I had posted the diagrams and the photos going back a long time ago when they were first building some of the triangular ones. And they're stealth craft, but they look like they're UFOs, and they can do a lot of fancy flying. Okay,
so I see in the live chat that this rotating moon has been questioned as if the moon does not rotate. But Mary, you see, in my world, my truth, the moon rotates. So everybody has their truth. In my truth, the moon does rotate. Just putting that out there.
If it rotates, it's rotating in sync with the Earth, because the same side of the moon is always facing Earth. Okay.
All right. So we did get a response here. Q Maga says, I don't talk about the video that was released by the homeowners. Says they looked like they were survivors living off the grid. Now, that is something that I have come across over time, particularly, say, like in the Appalachians. People say there's actually people that are out there that live and they got, the hair and they're unkempt and they're dirty, but they're living out there and maybe been out there for generations. I think maybe one time you may even talked about the Cherokee Little People. So are there people living in the forest that are like that, you think?
It sounds like that might be Bigfoot. We do have Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in Appalachia. I'm here in the mountains of Western North Carolina. And in fact, I've done a whole book on Bigfoot. And, we've gotten the footprints and we've gotten the handprints and we've gotten all sorts of stuff. I've hiked into where their caves are. And
Mm-hmm.
so hairy people in the woods, my first guess would be a Bigfoot.
Mm. Have you been to Brown Mountain?
Yes.
Did you see anything when you were there?
Yeah, some puny little lights.
Now, what do you think is causing that?
Let me just throw this out for information.
Okay.
One of the people that contacted us, he actually worked for social services, so kind of a straight and narrow kind of guy. And he and either his wife or his girlfriend were hiking in the Linville Gorge, which is where the Brown Mountain Lights are. And they saw part of one of the mountains open up and then close. And when it closed, it didn't look like it was there. I've gotten reports of that in the area around Mount Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
out in the area 51. There's
Mm-hmm.
stories of things looking like it's just the side of a mountain, and then it'll open up.
Wow. Well, you talk about Bigfoot. Let me get over here and I can show you what I saw. I was at Yellowstone, and I was going through going by one of those mud pits, and I saw this right here. I took a picture of it. This is a Bigfoot. Looks like a juvenile footprint there that was in the mud. There's one right there. You clearly see the outline. It looks humanoid. But then we have it.
What are your estimates on the dimension of it? That's a better shot right there.
Yeah, I'd say there's about that. There was about a foot to maybe 13 inches, and that's why I kind of think it was more of the juvenile. I understand.
You're probably right. Yeah, the big guys, they're 18, 20, 24 inches.
Yeah. So now that's hot mud right there. And in that mud around that were pictures of animals. So animals go through there too. So last I checked, and when I took that picture, it was about 20 degrees. So, but the last time I checked that people run around the barefoot because, you can't run in those mud. There are rangers all around there. So for that print has to be made, it would have to be probably made at night.
That's a pretty good picture you got there and a good story to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't looking for it. I just looked down and there it was.
Isn't that the way life is?
Yeah, and when you look for it, you don't see it. Now, I had another episode where it was at Glacier, and I was stuck in the middle of a forest on a road. I was at a full stop, and in the forest, clearly could be heard two Bigfoots talking to each other, and they have a distinct kind of language. It sounds almost Japanese, but yeah, that was pretty weird too. So yeah, it's like you say, if you go looking for it, you may never find it, but sometimes it just comes to you.
That's right. Yeah, one lady was driving on a road up here, and it was a gravel road, just single lane, and Bigfoot just ran across in front of her, and it's in an area where we already know they're active. There's a cave on the opposite side of the road. Of course, she didn't know about that, and it's way up on a ridge. And on the other side, there's water, and there's also an apple tree. The Bigfoot loved the apples, and they would come down there and get the apples. And many times, there's a regular path they would take, and that's where we would find the footprints. The ones we found, they were always about 16 inches long.
They also speculate that where there's Bigfoot activity, there's UFO activity. Is there any correlation to that?
Well, I have to keep open to that possibility for many different reasons. One is because the website that I edit is called skyshipsovercachers.com. And we started that website because there were so many UFOs being seen over that mountaintop community. That's also the area where we're seeing a lot of Bigfoot. So that would kind of support that idea. And then there's another man in another part of North Carolina, not as mountainous, and he has Bigfoot living in the forest where he lives.
Whoa.
And one night he heard them making a whole lot of noise, and he went out there with his camera
Mhm.
to see what was going on. And the Bigfoot were along the tree line looking up at the sky, and there was a gold colored UFO in the sky. He did get a picture of that, and many years ago I did put that on the website.
Wow. All right, we have this question here. Talk about the structures under the water. Could they have been built on dry land prior to the flood of Noah?
They absolutely were probably on dry land at one point.
So you think this Earth was originally inhabited by aliens and somehow humans came along?
Trying to figure out how to answer this question. There's, I think some of the lower hominids that were living on this planet have been genetically modified by ETs, and we human beings may be a result of that also. Doesn't fit in with biblical teachings, but there's a lot of evidence that it might be true.
Very dangerous territory right there. Very dangerous. that could cause a cataclysmic event happening on the Edge broadcast. So, but there have been all over the world found underwater structures that seem to be built, and it didn't seem like it was a few guys with ropes. It seems like these are giant structures with immense blocks of stone that would take a technology that doesn't currently exist, but couldn't it also be giants that's doing like we would do a woodworking project? They do a monolith project.
Absolutely. And that's why I mentioned that they found the giant skeleton in the middle of the Pacific in the Micronesian islands. And it's also where these giant, huge structures are. So, yeah.
All right. So let me just check with the poll questions to see if our alien attack species have changed. And because sometimes they change as we talk during the show, the questions, what people decide is true or what they believe changes. And right now, it's still not the reptilians. It's the Democratians attacking the world. That sounds like a self-inflicted wound there. Well, we talked about the fires that's enveloped basically most of Canada, or how large that is. Now, that also has a side effect. I understand that 50% of the East Coast solar panels, they're only putting out 50% power now because of that. That's one side effect. The other side effect is, and even here in Indiana, I noticed that our temperatures are much lower. So they have a tendency to reduce temperature, which some people say that's what chemtrails were developed for, to put chemicals in the sky to reflect the sun to lower the temperatures. These people are crazy. But where I'm going with that is, I had a guest on the program said that part of an alien takeover, they're from a world that is much cooler and the heat would bother them quite a bit. So they're trying to lower the temperature of the earth, therefore telling humans, you better make climate change agreements and you better stop fossil fuels and put stuff in the sky to lower temperatures so they can come and have a good time and have good weather from where they're at. What do you think about that?
I have no comment on it because I've heard things like that. How in the world do you respond to it? How in the world do you confirm or deny it?
Right. It can neither be confirmed nor denied. Now, there is also something out there, Mary, called Oregon. Have you heard about that?
I really don't know much about it, no.
Okay. Some claim that it affects reptilians. It causes like a burn or their scales to pop off. I don't know which. I've never seen it.
Where are you getting some of this stuff?
Well, because I've had such a variety of guests on the program that I will get all of these things, and they're sort of like all in here.
Your head's going to pop.
Since 2003, thousands of interviews. So you can imagine the variations. And I really kind of like it because I want to hear.
Is that why you wear the hat, to keep your head on?
Yeah. Owen Schroer of InfoWars said one time, he said that I have this hat to keep the government thought rays from penetrating. And I think I do. This is aluminum wrapped so they can't hear my thoughts because I do know quite a bit. I am a threat to the system, Mary.
Okay.
But are you a threat? Have you ever been approached, or I noticed that
they take down stuff that I post. For example, many of the things that have made it into the book, the first time, and I keep pictures of these things, so I have evidence of before and after. Mm-hmm. There's been many things that I have posted, and within a day or two, it's been blurred, taken down. One of the most dramatic ones was a major entrance I found into Antarctica. It was about, let's see, 100 feet high and 300 feet across, so any plane could fly into that. As soon as I posted that on the website, they began to blot it out, but they did it in steps. It was really weird. I went back and looked at it, and the first thing they did was like they poured black ink all over the entrance so you could no longer see it. Well, then I backed up so I could see two entrances that I knew about, that one and another one. And so very briefly, one of them was briefly labeled Hollow Earth Entrance. The other one was Hollow Earth Entrance 2. That only stayed there for a little bit. Eventually, the whole area turned into what looks like a field of ice.
Wow.
And there's been the things down in Antarctica when I found these cities. Most of those, they came in and blurred them out later. Found like a contemporary city wall structure on Mars. And not only what they did this time is they did it with photo strips. And one photo strip just kind of went blurry. And the other one's like they took something from the gray moon and put it there. It didn't even match. Another time I found two, and I know you have a picture of it because it went flying by at one time behind you, of two pyramids in the Bahamas. And right after I posted that, it's like somebody took a photographic strip and like a Band-Aid put it right on top of where those two pyramids were.
I'm trying to find it. You say it went flying by. What am I looking for?
No. I was talking about. It'll be one of those. It'll be blue, and it's under the ocean, and there are two triangle pyramids right next to each other.
Okay, let's see if we can pull that up here. That's not it. That's not it. Entrance 1. That's not it. Ice cap. That's not it. Well, boy, I tell you what, I can't seem to find it.
Oh, now we were talking about the triangular UFOs that are man-made.
Yeah.
There's some of the drawings for it.
Yeah. So a lot of people say that the triangular ones are man-made. So they're not capable of making the conventional cigars, the cylindrical ones?
If I do not know, this is the only one that I can confirm that human beings are making those.
Now, you were assuming that they're making it with reversed technology from the aliens. Or are we that advanced if we don't?
Well, I think we've advanced some, but it's probably both. It would be my guess.
Okay. I noticed that I asked if you were anything happened to you bizarrely in the video that I showed earlier of the people that were stalked by these 8-foot aliens in their backyard. They also said within a day there were black SUVs driving around their house. Classic Men in Black type things. Government seems to know who sees what, and they pick up on it, and they always seem to send out teams. And so I was wondering if any team has ever showed up around your house.
If they've been real secretive. The only interruption I've had is with the computer.
Yeah, that seems like an easy thing for them to do right there. By the way, we do have this comment from 9 Lions 420. It says, Mary, very interesting pictures on your website. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the thanks. I appreciate it.
All right.
By the way, that website, just like the book, I use lots of photos. People don't like to read gray, boring stuff. And so I try to keep the articles short. I even boldface things that I think are important. And there's photos with almost everything I post.
So any other type of paranormal activity that's happening there in North Carolina?
Let's see. We've got the UFOs. We've got the Bigfoot. You briefly mentioned the little people. When I wrote the book, and I probably was talking to you after I'd written that book, it's called Cherokee Little People Were Real. And after I wrote that book, I decided I learned things, and I thought I should have changed the title because there are still little people in these mountains, not very many of them, and they're in remote areas. But what happened was the Cherokees, once they realized I wasn't going to laugh at them about the little people stories, they began to tell me some of the stories where there are still little people living here. And then after I had done this book, which is a bunch of years ago now, finally got a blurry picture of one. And I'd gotten a call from friends of mine who live on a nearby mountain ridge. And they had been debating for some time if they were going to show me the game cam picture that they got. They live up at the top of a ridge with a one-way road, and they have a game cam by their entranceway. And some animal triggered the game cam. And off in the distance, there's this little person off by a tree. And later, the couple went out there to measure the height of this little creature based on a tree it had been standing in front of. And it was about 3.5 feet tall, which is what I repeatedly hear all the time. But that's the first, that was years after I wrote the book that that kind of information began to come in.
All right, we have this question from Anonymous 1268. Says, the underwater UFOs, do they have to do with the military, or do the aliens have their own bases down there?
I've done stuff recently on the website about, in fact, it's probably still on the home page, about military people who have reported the underwater UFOs. One of the outstanding ones was from a guy who actually has national security clearance. He was working on a U.S. submarine on some project he couldn't talk about. And a UFO went under the water, traveling greater than the speed of sound, which seems totally incomprehensible. So I think those are alien. We do not have that capacity anywhere.
There have been a lot of reports of UFOs flying directly beside U.S. warships. They must know that they exist. What do you think they're looking for? Why are the aliens observing humans so much?
That almost becomes like one of those universal questions that could probably be asked and answered forever. Certainly, they're keeping track of our technologies, and what we're up to. There's no doubt about that. And there's quite a bit of growing evidence that they have bases in the ocean. So if that's the case, they're going to be very aware of what we humans are doing in our little submarines.
All right, I have another video here. This is going to be a purported Sasquatch video. Now, all the intel that I get over the years, it seems that they take trees and they tear them down, or they snap them. They build houses out of them, or shelters type of thing. So let me play this here and get your opinion on it. Stand by, pull myself out of the picture, then I'll pull you out, and then I'll play this video here. And you should be able to see it here. And let me get out of this here, and out of that there, and put this here. Okay, here it comes. All right, so there's supposedly a Sasquatch shaking a tree right there in drone footage. Well, something's down there shaking those trees. I think one tree is even moved. Let's watch a little bit more of it and see. Yeah, there it goes. Well, certainly it's not the wind. And that one tree looks like it's just moving through the forest. So what do you think about that, Mary? Did you see that?
I did. I'm seeing it in a very, very, very small screen, so I can't totally tell you, but that what you call a tree going through the forest could very well be a Bigfoot. They're known for shaking the trees.
And now, have you been in the forest, and have you ever had a rock thrown at you?
Probably, I'll tell you one experience. It doesn't exactly fit yours. One of the mountain men who lives at the top of one of the mountain ridges, he took me back to where he said he'd seen seen Bigfoot, and there was a very large cave back there. He had a machete with him, not for protection, but he actually had to do some cutting for us to get there. It was about a half mile from the road to the cave. And the cave was, and the part that you're interested in is we weren't too far into the woods and we heard this sound that was sort of like a bird, but it really didn't sound quite like a bird. And then off in the direction they were going in, it was the same kind of sound as if there was an answer. And then everything went silent. And both of us felt like it was one Bigfoot warning other Bigfoot that two humans were headed in their direction. We did see two very large footprints on the incline near where we first went into the woods.
And that's something else that I've heard purported, that they have sort of like spotters for, like, they'll go ahead and then a family group will come through, and they're sort of like spotters to see if anybody's on the trail or any kind of thing. There is people out there that say that people are actually abducted from the forest by Bigfoot and then taken into portals to some other place. And that goes to the cannibalism part, or maybe it's just a regular old abduction part. I don't think anybody's ever been taken and came back, but there's a whole lot of people that's missing from National Forest. Do you think that Bigfoots have any part of that?
If I had to choose between nasty aliens and Bigfoot, I would choose the nasty aliens for doing that kind of stuff. I do. In fact, I've seen and actually written an awful lot about the gentle side of the Bigfoot. They have families. They have language. They're more human than in their behavior than many people might think.
But now this idea that they're connected to UFOs, the only way I can think about it is perhaps, say you have some nasty reptilian, he's got health problems or whatever, but he gets a pet. He picks up a pet on another planet, like a Bigfoot. And so they're like their pet. And so they can't really walk them on the ship. So they take them to a forest and basically let them run around for a while like their pet, and then grab them back up in the spaceship. Does that make any kind of sense there?
Well, it makes a great story. I can tell you that the Bigfoot that we've been aware of, in the Cashers area, they just live there all the time.
Now,
they're not being dropped in for a walk.
Oh, okay.
They live in the cave. They have a regular path that they take to get the apples and get to the water. So they would not fall into that category. And are you a writer? Do you write fiction? Science fiction?
No, but I could.
Yeah, I know.
Should I write a book, Mary?
Yeah, why not?
Well, you've heard some of the things that I would put in that book. I could say some of the stories that I've heard over the years. I guess that would work. I do have my own personal stories too. I had a rock thrown at me in land between the lakes.
And he didn't hit you, did he?
No.
And they never do.
They never do. They're highly accurate.
They're trying simply to make you go away. They're trying to scare you away. And anybody who's had an encounter like that, they've never been hit by the rock.
I'll tell you what, Mary, if I write a book, will you write the foreword?
I don't know. It depends on what you come up with. I would never say yes to you off the top of my head. You're too full of mischief.
Oh, you got me. You got my number, Mary. Man, I thought I had you bamboozled. But no, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of happenings out there, but this also goes into the supernatural. Let's go over there for a second. Now, that's not your forte, I'm sure, but
you don't know. It just may not be.
Okay, well, supernatural. I mean, so where there seems to be Bigfoot activity, there also seems to be ghost activity. It seems that people lose power in their cameras and their phones. There's power drains going on, and then there's orbs flying around. I mean, how much stuff is going on out there? What kind of world do we live in? Is it a completely supernatural world? Is that what the deal is?
There's an awful lot of stuff going on here. That's for sure. For sure.
So,
and by the way,
yeah.
There are many people who believe that once you die, that your body is, you no longer have the body, obviously, but you are still you. The soul still exists, and that it is often in an orb form, an energy orb type of thing. There's a photo, actually a series of photos that we did seriously many, many years ago, and it was at a group meditation in some other part of the world, but the camera was running the whole time. And the more the people got quiet, the more they prayed, the more they, that's all I need to say. The more they got that way, the more these orbs came in, and it was like the energy orbs, which could very well be the souls of people who are no longer in a body form were showing up.
Hmm. So, and that does make some sort of sense. Other people have said that orbs seem to be controlled, like something else is.
We have orbs, or the term orb is used in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little hard. We get into the mucky area so easily. I mean, technically, an orb is anything that's round, and so you can have energy coming off of volcanoes that'll be like in an orb form. That's totally different than a soul. So again, we can't just bunch everything together. We get in trouble when we do that. We have to stretch our minds,
right,
and we have to be able to comprehend multiple concepts at the same time.
I got to work on that.
Because we can't get pigeonholed. I mean, there's too much of this pigeonholing thing, and you never grow if you don't open up and allow yourself to learn more. I believe that God, the Creator, wanted us to grow, wanted us to push and learn and keep expanding. I don't think He meant for us to stay locked in the past.
Okay, so would you say someone of a Christian belief system that they should not necessarily fear looking into these matters?
Absolutely not. Now, I will tell you this, and I'm actually a preacher's kid. Now, with that said, I have to say it was a very liberal background that my dad came from. So, I would not fit into the category of being a fundamentalist, but I definitely believe in God. And I believe He's a God that wants us to grow and expand and become the best that we can become.
So did God create the aliens?
Maybe He did.
Did God create the devil?
Don't know. I don't. There's evil. There's evil. And evil is something that I think that we choose. And we choose to be selfish. We choose to be greedy. And the more we're that way, the more the negativity the more we create negativity. Do I believe in a devil with horns out to get us all the time? No, I don't. But do I believe there's evil in the world? Yes, I do.
So in the movie Failure to Launch, it's an older movie with Sarah is a comedy. Sarah Parker's in there and Matthew McConaughey's in there. Well, in that movie, Matthew McConaughey's character gets attacked 4 times by 4 different creatures: a squirrel, a dolphin, 2 other things. He gets attacked, and the reason he gets attacked is because nature is rebelling against him, and he's out of sync with nature. Okay, and they're trying to tell him that he's out of sync, so they're going to attack him. Do people who have a more kind, open spirit see these type of things, and those that don't say, I don't never see nothing ever happened, I never see nothing supernatural? Is that because nature is blocking and will not allow them to see what's really out there?
I think it's usually a limitation on the part of each human being. And the more you pay attention to the things around you, the more you're going to see and the more you're going to be aware. Most of the people today are walking around with a phone in front of them like this. Most of them never look up at the sky. They're never going to see a UFO because they're doing like this. If we grow, it's up to us. And you don't grow looking down at your feet all the time.
Well, now see, that's an interesting point there, because the other day I'm mowing my yard and my phone was on top of my tractor and it fell off and I mowed it. And so I picked up the pieces, I put it in a bag, and I took it to Verizon and I said, can I get a trade-in on this phone? I dumped it out on the table. Well, the moral of the story is they said, no, there's something wrong with you for even asking that question. But 2, I got a new Galaxy S23 Ultra, and now I can take a picture of the moon for the first time. It's the only phone I've ever had that actually can zoom in on the moon and have a moon rather than just a blur of light. So now
I have a new phone. I'm going to have to go out and try that.
So I am going to be watching. Okay. In fact, here's his bad boy right here. Look at it's, I don't know how many more cameras you can have on there, but it's the only one with 100 zoom on it. And so now I can see the moon. So if something's happening up there, I'm going to catch it. I couldn't before, but now I can.
Right. All right. The only thing that I've been able to find on the side of the moon facing us was I found a white pyramid. I was shocked that I found anything. Most of the good stuff that you hear about is happening on the backside of the moon. So no matter how great your camera is, you're probably not going to get it. In my book, I have the coordinates for the location of that um, pyramid. Maybe your camera can pick up on that one.
I'll
It's a
try.
possibility. It's a possibility.
And then where would I see this?
Well, if the port, you wouldn't be able to use coordinates with your camera to find it, but if you look at the picture I have in my book of it, you can find the markings on the moon where it's located,
Mm-hmm.
and so you could start zeroing in and in that section and see if you have any luck. I have no idea if you will,
Well, I'll certainly give it a
but
go.
I do know it's there.
Okay. Well, somebody's got to look at it. But anyway, you have to be looking. But the other thing is, I noticed back to that earlier video in the first hour, the guy said they had video, but their cameras quit during the part.
That happens all the time.
It does.
UFOs will fly over cars, and the cars will just stop running.
Mm-hmm.
That I've been hearing that story for years.
A long time. And what about missing time? How do you think that missing time is created?
They have technology that we just don't have, and they're able to, I think, wipe out our memory or keep us from remembering what happened during a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
How they do it is beyond what I would be able to.
So Mary, is it possible that many more people have seen UFOs, but they've been memory wiped?
Possibly.
Then how will we know?
Well, some things we'll never know.
So how do you personally take this research that you do? Is it something that you really enjoy to do? Is it a hobby? Is it a business? I mean, what is it? Both?
It's not a business. This is not a moneymaker for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm old enough that I don't have to report into duty to work every day. So I have the freedom to do some things that, I might not have been able to do.
Why does, okay, granted. Okay. Why does it interest you?
Because I get bored with the same old stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly looking for things that are new.
Okay. Now give me an example of the same old stuff. I'm doing a psych evaluation on you. Is what I'm doing. Go ahead.
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, the stuff you turn on TV and you see it and you've seen it a zillion times. You open a book and you've read that storyline a zillion times. I mean, that's boring.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always looking for things that are kind of on the edge of something new.
All righty. Okay.
It's not limited. It's not limited to this stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it can be many things.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a garden?
Just don't let me get bored. No, I don't.
Why don't you have a garden?
Probably because I can answer that two ways. As a younger person, I was just much too active. As an older person, I was exposed to chemicals that caused me to have rheumatoid arthritis. So my knees are not going to let me get down and do gardening.
Oh, it's sad. But
chemicals really can do a number on you. And many people who have rheumatoid arthritis have been exposed to some kind of chemical. And
well, I guess where I'm going with that is we had a guest on here not too long ago that said that an alien had abducted him and healed him.
I have a story from a pastor that had that experience. An alien, not a creepy reptilian, but an alien that looks more like a spirit master appeared at the foot of his bed.
Okay.
And he was healed. He had a major thing that the doctor was afraid he would die from. And that's coming from a
pastor shared that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sounds like that's my kind of pastor right there for one. But so it is then in your estimation that God could use an alien to heal people?
Who's to say God hasn't created? Let's put it this way: Earth is this little teeny tiny dot, and the more you see of these pictures from the Webb telescope and the Hubble and all those, and you see the vastness of the universe, we limit God to our own puny little minds. God is way beyond anything that we can comprehend. We're like a little ant at the toe of God. That little ant can't begin to understand what it's just run into. it absolutely cannot understand the thoughts that are going on in the mind of the person whose toe it just ran into.
Mm-hmm.
And we are like little ants at the toe of God. And
Ooh.
God is way beyond this earth. God is doing creation at so many levels, way beyond Earth.
Mm.
So let's not just throw everything away that's out beyond our solar system.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. So you mentioned planet size, and we've also mentioned the universe size and alien size. I got a movie to give some context to that conversation of planet size. So stand by. Let me roll this thing here real quick. I'll roll it. This has to do with planets. So stand by. And I'll take myself out of the picture, and I'll take you out of the picture and put this in. So this here is planet size. Let's roll it here. All right, there's the moon right there. Mercury, of course. So we're talking about how big is the universe and how many variations of things there could be out there. For one, if you look at the size of the planet, there's Venus. Earth, you are here. Ooh, major jump to Neptune. Saturn's looking pretty big too. And there's Jupiter. It can't get any bigger, can it?
And those UFOs that are being seen around the sun are bigger than Jupiter.
And that's something too, because if they have the technology to go from 0 to 4,000 miles per hour in a split second, they certainly have the power, the shield to just orbit the sun and get the power out of it.
Charles Hall, who was the man who was stationed with the military out in Area 51, he worked face to face with the tall white aliens, and the U.S. military was working with them. The U.S. military allows them to have land there where they can keep their facilities. And he said there were like tour buses, UFOs, but tour buses that would come in from the planet where these tall whites originate. And they would come and stay for like 2 weeks, mm-hmm. and just to see what Earth is like and to see some humans, mm-hmm. and then they will go on. So there's some giant cruise ships out there going through our universe.
If there was an alien that landed near you, would you invite them in?
I will trust totally on my gut feeling. If I trust that God will protect me, and if He says run like the Dickens, then I'm going to run like the Dickens. And if it feels right, then I will do my best to be brave enough to interact with them.
Now, in your research, Mary Joyce, recently, and maybe not so recently, but has something really startled you when you were researching something and you have like an aha moment? You can't believe it yourself. And could you describe that moment if you remember it?
Yeah, there's been several. When I began to make those discoveries on Mars, my God, I could not believe it. I could not believe I found a UFO sitting on there. I could not believe that these structures were lined up. I mean, that was a real mind blower for me. It was a real mind blower to find these ancient cities showing up out of Antarctica. It was a mind blower to find that giant airport off the coast of Baja. Each one of those has been an oh my gosh moment.
Mm. Do you think that the aliens have told humans, all the governments of humans, that they must move this planet in a certain direction, politically or whatever else way? Because it does seem like the countries of the world seem to be acting in unison in certain areas as if something's coordinated. Do you think it's possible that the aliens have told humans your act in this area needs to get together, or we're not going to give you any information, or we may even destroy you for that matter?
Wow, I don't know where to jump in that question. Yes, I think the ETs are being involved. I mean, for example, Werner von Braun said that they got their knowledge about UFOs, and they were actually able to build some because they were getting information from ETs from the planet Aldebaran. Mm-hmm. We have every reason. I mean, they had UFOs back in World War II. And one of the things that he said was that the UFOs that flew over Washington, D.C. in 1952 mm-hmm. Were actually from the Nazis. That were the ones, they had created those ships. Those were not aliens. Hmm. That's coming from pretty high up.
That's interesting about the Nazis. They always seem to come up, even still today, when we talk about aliens. Some people said that they went to Antarctica and they went underneath there, and they have super science down there now. Do you see a time when they're going to come out and try to retake over the world?
We have an awful lot of Nazis in this country right now. What do you think?
Touche. I like that. See, you got a little feisty to you. See, I just got to work to get it out of there. But no, they're out there, and they're roaming free in this country. That's a problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like we need to arrest them. So what is the latest? The latest of the latest, Mary Joyce. What did you discover? Just the latest of the latest.
Well, this is going to sound kind of boring, but one of the things I'm going to post this next week, at the end of next week, is a story about a theory that people have had for a long time. And the most common theory is that humankind originated out of Africa.
Okay.
The people two of the people, professors with PhDs, who wrote a stellar article about that, and I think it was a Scientific American magazine, back in 1992. And they went along with this. They created this theory out of Africa.
All right.
They have done something that very few people in those kind of positions ever do. They reversed their position, and they based it on increasing DNA information. And they have concluded that the first humans were in Australia.
Well, that is a change of note there.
Yeah, like I said, you get bored if you keep doing the same thing all the time.
What is it I've been hearing lately, though, that the continents of the Earth, their shape mirrors different things on the moon. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, we certainly have Sedona. I mean, that thing. There are pyramids that seem to match the plateau of Giza over there. So, and there are things in there structures on Mars that mirror that.
I have not personally found a pyramid on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I found it in the ocean, and of course, all around our country.
Is the design of a pyramid extraterrestrial in origin?
It could very well be, because they go way, way back in time. And the fact that one on the moon, we humans didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting, too. I mentioned pyramid because when I was talking about the second military man that just recently was a whistleblower, he said the UFO, when they came down over the hill, or no, the other guy. No, it was that one. The ones that come down over the hill. They said the shape of the craft was a pyramid. And I haven't never heard, I've triangular, round, cigar shaped, weirdo shapes, but being an actual triangle, how's that thing even fly? Like a pyramid.
Well, there's also cube shaped UFOs. You don't see them very often. And I look at that, there's nothing aerodynamic about that at all.
Right.
A cube, flying around, that just seems like a bad design. But that seems to be real. So,
well, maybe,
I guess
maybe we can help them with the design. They got some problems there. But wasn't there like a Star Trek Evil Generation something? Didn't they always have this cube kind of thing sitting out in space? The Borg riding around?
Yes, absolutely.
So was that Hollywood telling us they exist?
What's the author of that again? Can't think of his name. Anyhow, he
Roddenberry?
Roddenberry used to meet with a group of people. They were scientists and curious people I say mostly scientists from around the world that would meet with this psychic who apparently was quite good. And she apparently tapped into something called the Nine. And many of the ideas that he had in his creations were from those sessions, including the Borg.
See, they're just kind of letting us know it's kind of a slow rollout. They seem like they always do it like that. Well, Mary Joyce, we're right at the end of the broadcast. Tell us about your website again and the book and anything else you want to. You go right ahead.
Okay, you've got the book up there. It's Spy in the Sky. The whole long title is Spy in the Sky, Secrets and Cover-Ups on Earth and Beyond. And that's the most recent thing that I've done. Again, it's a picture book. It has the coordinates in it so other people can use Google Earth and find these things for themselves. That way it's not Photoshopped. And if you go to the website, which is skyshipsovercashers.com, go to Editor's Corner, and there's a listing in there which describes all 5 books that I have in print right now.
Okay.
They're all available on Amazon.
Okay. Well, Mary Joyce, thank you so much for coming back on the program. Can we have you back on again sometime? And I can guarantee you I'll be full of mischief some more.
I don't know if that's the way to intrigue me or not.
Oh,
You have-
I'll be brilliant and all that. How about that?
we'll go for it.
Okay.
You take care of yourself. It was nice talking to you.
All right. You betcha. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.